Well, one of the reasons why I'm asking you if, what you know about New Haven is because I'm aware that you made an EP with John Bryan.
That's kind of a misconception.
He did remixes of songs.
He unsolicited, just on his own as a recording project, just
As a fan, or
yeah, just as a fan, he just made all these mixes. Then he contacted Kevin. Actually, he didn't even contact Kevin. It was through some interview where he said how much of a fan he was.
He had like covered Bunny live, and
So then Kevin had our publicist contact him and say that we would love to meet him or whatever. And after just a couple of like emails, and I don't think Kevin ever even met him. We all met him on the same night after the thing was released. So he just made it. Our record label said, well, if you're going to have these anyway, we might as well release them as remixes. And I didn't even know it was finished until I walked in the record store and saw it there. I was like, what the hell is this? So, yeah, it was not a collaboration. It was just kind of like a fun project that he decided to do. And then because he's well known, it was
But wouldn't you need access to like your multi-track recordings to do that, or no? You just took them and remastered them, chopped them up? And
I mean, you'd be shocked what you can do with Pro Tools and lifting things.
I run this place, so I'm very familiar.
But no, he had no raw files or anything. He just took it from the album.
So I bring it up partially because he's a New Havener.
oh, is he?
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
And these are his old digs.
I did not know that actually.
Yeah, he's been in LA for quite a long time.
For over a decade, yeah. And before that was Boston, and before Boston it was New Haven for a real long stretch, maybe the longest stretch of his life.
Really?
Even though when he was a tiny kid, he was, I think, from New Jersey. But
yeah, well, we're all big fans of his.
me too.
And it's really kind of strange that there's this connection, but there's very little personal connection. It's just kind of like a mutual respect. And it's more between him and Kevin, I guess, that even they have only met for about 5 minutes. Yeah.
Well, I don't know if I should be embarrassed to confess this, but I mean, it's what introduced me to your band. I mean, somebody on the internet had, from his Yahoo groups had said, oh, he remixed your music, and so I listened to your music for the first time through that connection.
Well, that's good. I mean, isn't that the whole point? It's like, I'm hoping that there's some of Montreal fans that have no idea who he is, and then went and looked it up after seeing. I mean, anytime you can like gain new fans or broaden an audience because of an association with someone you respect, then that's great. You know?
I think that's kind of the thinking with the Janelle Monáe tour, is that it's like, you know, it gives us a chance to kind of gather fans that we wouldn't have really access to, and the same with her, you know. And it's like, and it's been working too. I mean, like, for Janelle Monáe anyway, I can tell like every single night people would just go insane for her. And it's like, these are people that might not have even known about her until she was like way too big to see in a club like Music Hall of Williamsburg, you know.
I'll definitely be checking her out.
By the fall.
Yeah.
We're all predicting very big things for her very quickly.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing. She hasn't even released her first album yet. She just has like an EP that's didn't have like a huge push, and mostly it's on word of mouth and like having a really super well-known, you know, label and her associations with other bigger artists. But she's definitely a superstar. It's just that she's just starting. So we're predicting that by, you know, Christmas,
next year, basically,
we would be, you know, begging to return the favor to go on her.
Please let us open up for you.
Do you foresee doing any collaborations with her?
Absolutely.
We would love to,
whenever we can. And she's enthusiastic about it too. And she lives in Atlanta, and we're only like an hour away. And we've already discussed doing recordings and stuff.
Fan of both of you guys.
Hey guys, have a sandwich.
With that, it's always like just trying to take that impossible recording.
Oh my god.
So it's like distilling. You know, that's part of our job, is finding the absolute core essence of every piece, and then kind of trying to make that into an arrangement that 5 people can play, and whatever is missing, we can usually fill in with some electronics and some samples and things like that. Yeah.
There were several times when we were learning Skeleton
And then often that
Lamp.
goes right out the window as soon as we get on stage.
Yeah.
We do it live as a rock band anyway.
There's several times when we were learning skeletal lamping that Kevin would pull me into his little world where he had all this stuff set up and go, he'd play me this thing and go, do you think this is impossible to play? And it's like, he'd play something that, yeah, is pretty much impossible to play, and he'd be like, no, I think you can do it. And he'd just give it to me and be like, so I have to go home and try to figure out how to make this thing work how it is. And it's kind of nerve-wracking, but it's also really cool because it's like, it teaches me a lot as like a musician to like, well, okay, yeah, that thing you need 16 fingers on one hand to really do it, but there's probably a way to fake it, you know. And I think it's a good thing for all of us to have to kind of force ourselves into this totally different way of thinking, to like try to delve into his brain and like mash it all out, you know, and make it one cohesive thing.
And another thing I would say is that what we do, as opposed to the recording process and the performance, is like physicalizing it, which you often don't think about when you listen to some music. It's a very different thing to create something in MIDI and then to play it on a live instrument. And so even if some bass line can be very easily played in an octave with 8 fingers, you can do really fast shit. When you're actually fretting it, it's a totally different feeling. And drum programming, if you have like 7 or 8 little polyrhythms going on in multiple samples and multiple loops, it's very easy to either program that or even like, you know, tap them out one at a time or whatever. But to get 2 sticks and a kit and try to play in that way that you've just only heard like really cerebrally, and then to like make it physical is often really exciting and like super challenging, and it's made both of us way better drummers and bass players, because it's not only that like that's not the style that we would write in, it's that no person wrote it in that style. Kevin didn't write it in that style. It was all developed inside of a computer and then brought out into human musicians. So it's, I don't know, I love that. I think it's really exciting to have that much of a challenge, you know, and then trying to do it while drunk
that's
in front of a live audience. It just makes us stronger.
So does that influence your own solo work? I know you
Totally.
do.
Absolutely.
James
Both
Huston.
of us, though. It's like anything else we do. If you spend a year playing funky bass or trying to do like hip hop drums, then the next time you sit down, you know, you might try to write the most acoustic little thing. There's always a little bit of like Kevin Barnes stuck on your finger.
You can't get them all.
No, it's great though. I mean, I think all of us definitely take influence away from our, you know, participation in this band into anything else we do.
And not just
so much.
Not just from Kevin's aspect, like from what Jamie does, like his interpretations of and like his little solos and his little leads that he does on his bass, his keyboard. It's like I take just as much from that, you know. And the way Brian plays guitar is like you wind up like whether or not you want it there, it winds up seeding itself in your brain where you just like it comes out every once in a while, and it's kind of strange and surreal.